Hi, this is going to be another batch of lucky dips about memorable moments from my time as the McArdle's coordinator in the UK. So we'll get straight off. I've got my flat cap here with my lucky dip. So I'm going for the first one. Here we are. Oh, this is about somebody I'm sure won't mind being named as Lorraine, who came all the way from Australia to Wales to come on the walking course, age 64. And she did incredibly well. She walked every day bar one with us, including doing a ridge of Snowdon. I think it was about 1,400 feet of climb over a ridge of Snowdon, far more than she'd ever done before. And at the very last, she admitted to me that she'd come with the intention of not walking at all. She was just going to meet everybody and be able to talk and learn about McArdle's, and she didn't think she'd be up to the walks, and she did incredibly well. So that was really nice that she did so well. I'm trying not to look. I've got them folded over so I can't see anyway. Right. Oh yeah, this was sitting in the McArdle's clinic and talking to patients, and there was a young man there who was coming to get his diagnosis. He thought Dr. Quinlivan would have the results, and I was convinced that he had McArdle's, and off he went to see Dr. Quinlivan, and I talked to other patients. When he came out, he came to see me, and he says, "No, I haven't got McArdle's. I've got RYR1 myopathy." And they've since, I think, the clinic has diagnosed about 10 people with this RYR1 myopathy. So there we go. I'm not always right. Right, here we go. Another one. Oh yes, this is about somebody who had a bit of an episode and ended up going to hospital, and they said that his CK was 90,000 that evening, and when he got discharged the next morning, saying his CK was down to 13,000 and he could go now. And we talked, and I said, I really can't believe this, because the 90,000 hadn't even been at the 24-hour mark after the episode, which is the normal peak of CK. It takes 24 hours going up and up and up, and then starts coming down. Admittedly, he'd been on intravenous fluids from the evening, so it might have done, might have been better. But no way would it be 13,000, because it comes down at the rate of typically 30 to 50% per 24 hours. And it hadn't even reached a peak. And I said, look, I really think you've got to go back. And he did. And then we managed to work out from the new reading, which was much, much, much higher. I forget what it was. We worked out that when they'd said it was 13,000, it must have actually been 130,000. So that's really a lesson of, to watch out for mistakes on the CK readings. Right, here we go. Another one. Oh yes, this was on the trip that 4 of us did in the Dolomites. That's myself and 3 much younger guys who had all been on the walking course in Wales, and they wanted to do something more exciting. And we developed the idea of going to the Dolomites in northern Italy and doing a 7-day walk there. And on one day, we had people coming the other way as we were climbing up towards a col. They were coming down, and they started telling us that the path was blocked, that there'd been a rock fall and we couldn't get through. And we didn't really believe it. We thought, nah, we'll be all right, we'll manage. But more people came through saying the same thing, and then an American guy came through, so we were able to talk more easily than the Germans and Italians and French and whatever that was coming through. And he convinced us that yes, there'd been a thunderstorm the night before, there'd been a rockfall, it had obliterated the path coming up the other side that we had to go down. And he'd actually spoken to people who come up and they were trembling. They'd once they'd got on it, they had to keep going, but they said it was really dangerous. So we had to then backtrack down 1,000 feet, roughly, that we'd already climbed up to get back to a path, to go around and really way down, and then climb back up 1,500 feet to the hut that we were going to. So it was quite an upsetting and testing diversion for us. Another one. Oh, yes. Now, I think I can use his name, Dan Chambers from California, who was on the Walk Over Wales. And he had a long time ago, he'd had a very bad episode when he'd gone swimming in a river, and just as he got to go to a rock in the river, and just as he got in, his friend shouted that there was a snake in the water. So he swam as fast as he could and got to this rock, pulled himself up onto the rock, but he really hurt himself, and he ended up having to go to hospital, and his CK was way over 100,000. And he and I had done a few days walking together in California, and as we came down through Yosemite, he realized that we were going past the place, the area where this incident had happened, probably about 5 or 6 years before. And before I knew it, he'd taken off along the riverside, disappeared out of sight, looking for this place where this incident had happened. And I came round the corner, and lo and behold, there he was, stripped down to his pants, going in the river to swim to the rock, to lay the ghosts of that previous episode. I was very impressed that he did it. That was really good. And luckily, he didn't have an episode, and he didn't have to go to hospital. So that was good. Oh, yes, I know. I think I could mention Gabby's name. She'll be happy with that. Gabby from Germany. She'd been over on the walking course in Wales, and in fact came on a week when we were trying to do the 15 Welsh peaks over 3,000 feet, 15 of them, and we were trying to do them in a week, and actually we got caught out with bad weather, and one day we'd done 3 peaks, but the weather turned bad and we had to come down, and we had an escape route down to get down into a village, and it was a long descent. We hadn't intended to go that way, but we had to get out of the bad weather. And as we got down into the village, I looked round and I looked up at the peak, and I said to Gabby, "Look, there's the peak. We were just on that, an hour or two ago. We were up there." It said, "No, that's not where we were." And I said, "Yeah, it is. That's no. She couldn't believe that we'd been up this incredible mountain and we'd come so far down. So that was great. She did believe me in the end. Oh, this actually follows on from the Dolomites one I was talking about earlier. So having had to reverse and down and go round and climb back up again to our hut, the next day was going to be the toughest day of the 7 days we were walking in the Dolomites. And I thought, we can't do another day like that, a tough day. So I looked at the map and I had a long think about it, and I realized that if we went down in a different direction instead of up, we could go down to the road, get a bus around, and then there was a cable car. We could go on the cable car up to the highest point that we were going to do for the day. So that would save us a lot of climbing, and then it'd be up and down, but a traverse across through the mountains along the side of a valley, very exposed traverse. But finally, at the end of the day, I said to the lads, at the end, I'm afraid we've got about a 1,500-foot ascent to do to get to the hut for the night. And I thought this was, really bad news, even though I'd worked out a really great, alternative. And Dan turned to me and said, Andrew, 1,500 feet, that's nothing really. And it just shows once people get fit, they're not bothered by a big long climb. 1,500 feet, that's something like 70 stories of a block of flats or something. It's quite a lot. But they were all three perfectly happy to do it, and we did it. Great. Oh yes, this was a young lad who was on our walking course in California that Jeremy organised, and he was 14, I think, at the time. And on his way home with his mum and his dad, he was feeling a bit strange. So his mum decided to take him to hospital and just get a check, get a blood test, CK. And lo and behold, although he'd been fine on the walking course, lo and behold, they said they wanted to admit him because his CK was 40,000. And I was gobsmacked when she messaged me about this. I really thought, no, that just can't be right. It can't be 40,000. I'd been with him, and after he'd left, all he'd done was travel back. So anyway, when they saw the doctor again, he rather sheepishly admitted that he was expecting it to be high. So his brain or his eyes had added a naught. His CK was actually 4,000, which was, highish, but not bad for a McArdle's person. And but he'd read it as 40,000. It was actually 4,000. So another CK mistake in the opposite, the opposite direction to the one I told earlier. This is one about me being at a conference in France, and I saw a doctor who I thought was the guy who had agreed to put his name to the foreword for the 101 Tips book, to the French edition of the 101 Tips book. And I said, oh, thanks very much, for agreeing to put your name to the book, because it was really good to have a French doctor as well as Dr. Quinlivan from the UK. And he started saying, no. And I thought, oh dear, I must have got the wrong person. And because I'd only met him once before, I think. I thought I'd got it wrong. But then I realized he was saying, no, I shouldn't be thanking him. He should be thanking me because he was so pleased to be able to support the book, and that he loved giving it out to patients, that they all looked at it and recognized things about themselves, and it sort of validated their experience. And then as they got in more, they learned some new tips as well. So he was very grateful for having been involved with the book. Oh, this is another one about the walking course in California. Now, I'm pretty sure that you all know Ian McDougall, and he is now 81. He's done a video in our winter season. And I think at the time of the course, he was 78, coming on the walking course. And he said at the end that it was the first time in his life that he'd been able to go for a walk, not just down to the corner shop, but go for a proper walk without pain, because he'd now learnt, with everybody else, he'd learnt how to do it without pain at age 78. So that was good going, wasn't it? Right, another one. Not many more. Oh yes, I had a phone call at home, and somebody started asking questions about McArdles, and I realised this was a consultant, a medical consultant, a doctor, and he was asking me questions about McArdles, and I said, look, you do realise, don't you, that I'm not a doctor. I'm just a patient and the coordinator for the UK, you know. And he said, oh yes, I know that, but you're the person to come to for advice. So here I am. Here we go. Oh right, yeah. This is more about me, but it happened on one of the walking courses. We'd actually climbed Snowdon with a group, so that's the highest mountain in Wales. And on the way up, we'd been passed by a group who were obviously going a lot quicker than us. We reckon that generally hill walkers will climb about 3 times as fast as us as a group of McArdle's people. And we'd had a bit of a chat to them as they went past, you know. And then we were getting near the summit, and this group had been up to the top and probably had a party and everything, and spent a lot of time looking at the view. And now they were leaving, and they were coming down. They'd come down a few hundred yards off the top, and they bumped into us still working our way up. And I was chatting to them, and the guy in charge, you know, and I said, how long did you take? And I think he said about an hour and a half they'd taken to get from the car park to the summit, and we'd taken like 4 hours or something. And I told him that, you know, that, oh, well, you know, you did well because we took 4 hours. And he put his hand on my shoulder and he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, if I'm still coming up here when I'm your age, I'll be really pleased with myself. Great, thanks. Oh, we're very close to the end now. 2 to go. Oh, yes. I was talking to one of the doctors in the big team of people working on McArdles in Spain, and been at a Euromat workshop. We were getting a cab to the airport, and I was talking to one of them in particular, and we were discussing people having bad incidents and talking about contractures and compartment syndrome and things like that. And suddenly the guy said to me, but Andrew, you must realize that I've never seen a contracture. Huh? What? Because you know, this is a doctor who does research on McArdles and sees McArdle patients, but of course he's not working in the emergency department of the hospital. So, you know, when somebody has an incident, they've got a contracture and they need to go to the hospital, he's not there to see them. So he's never seen a contracture in a McArdle's person, doesn't, you know, therefore can't quite understand it in the way that you or I would. So one more. Oh yes, this is quite a nice one. I don't think he'll mind me using his name. This was Dr. Andrea Martinuzzi in Italy, who's the only doctor who's actually copied our idea of the walking courses and run some walking courses for McArdle patients. And he put together the first one, and he wanted the psychologist to be involved in this. And he said the psychologist said, no, it's nothing to do with me. You know, you go off and do your exercise and whatever. It's not, you know, it's not for me. But finally, he managed to persuade, I think it was a woman, persuade her to come with the group. And at the end of it, she said, I want to come on the next one, because she said it had been such a positive experience for the patients. You know, she could see the huge psychological benefit to these patients of getting together and sharing the experience and safely achieving so much in the mountains. I think he said they climbed 400 meters, which is 1,200 feet or more. So yeah, Thank you very much. That's the end of the lucky dip. Maybe see you again another year. Bye.